thousands of years we've used smoke both to flavour food and to preserve it. These days we mostly use smoke as a flavouring, but understanding what smoke is the key to using it well. I'm Genevieve Taylor and this is Bristol Fire School, and today's film is exactly that, about understanding smoke. So there's a lot of myths out there about smoke. I think it's perhaps one of the most misunderstood things about barbecue. People obsess over smoke rings. They chase kind of perfect thin blue smoke. They spend a fortune on expensive smokers. Some of it matters and some of it doesn't, and that is what this film is about. Smoke isn't the goal, good food is the goal, and I use smoke simply as another ingredient in my cooking. And much like any other ingredient, like salt or like spices, you know, too little and you barely notice it's there, too much and it becomes overpowering. So it's about adding balance to your food with smoke rather than overwhelming it. So what exactly is smoke? Smoke is not something that magically appears because you set light to some wood. As the wood itself heats up, it begins to break down in a process called pyrolysis. The wood is effectively being baked before it gets burnt, and that releases hundreds of aromatic flavour compounds from the wood, which is what gives us that beautiful smelling smoke. Now, different species of wood, be it oak, apple, cherry, birch, you know, different species contain different aromatics, so the smoke smells different. So not all smoke tastes the same. And there's a lot of talk about thin blue smoke being the good smoke we're after. The reality is that good smoke can be almost invisible. What we don't want is thick, billowing white clouds of smoke, because that would indicate that you didn't have a clean burning fire. Now, thick, billowing smoke can leave your food tasting very acrid and very unpleasant. That said, when I'm smoking big pieces of protein, big joints of meat, very often I would be having a water bath in my setup, and water, as it evaporates, creates steam. So you could have a lot of what might look like white smoke coming out of your barbecue that is in fact steam coming out of your barbecue mixed with wood smoke. So my best advice is to use your nose around your air vents. If the smoke smells good, it probably is good and you're probably running a good clean fire. If it smells acrid and strong and a bit unpleasant, it's probably not a great combustion process going on there, giving you dirty smoke. But yeah, don't confuse steam with smoke. So one of the biggest myths in barbecue is about the infamous smoke ring. For those of you that don't know, the smoke ring is that little ring of pink you can get around the outside of meats that have been smoking. So the smoke ring, the pink, does not actually indicate that the smoke has been absorbed into your meat. So more pink doesn't mean more flavour. The smoke ring tastes of absolutely nothing. What it is chemistry. It's a chemical reaction between the gases that are being released off the wood with the pigments that are within the protein, the meat itself, creating this pink colour. But more pink doesn't mean more flavour. So more pink is not indicative of better barbecue. When it comes to smoking, there are really two main choices. There is hot smoking, by far the most common, or there is cold smoking. This is my cold smoker. Cold smoking is where you're adding smoke flavour but no heat. So it's used for things that don't need cooking, like butter, like oil, like salt, like cured cold smoked fish, for example. Or it's used for things that add smoke flavour that then need to be cooked, like bacon and ham and that kind of thing. So cold smoking adds smoke but no heat. Hot smoking, like you might do in a Kamado, a kettle, an offset smoker, Hot smoking is exactly what it says. You're adding heat and smoke at the same time. So effectively the food is being cooked at the same time as you're adding the smoke. So cold smoking by its very nature is best done during the colder months because you need the food to be out of the fridge for long periods of time to allow the smoke to go in. So hold the thought on cold smoking. It's something I'm going to come back to in this space later in the year to show you how I do lots of different cold smoking things. Hot smoking is something that you can do all year round. One question I get asked all the time is, do you need to match different woods to different foods when you're smoking? And I think the short answer is, perhaps it's less important than some of the barbecue world might lead us to believe. Certainly, different woods will give you very different smells when you burn them. So if you stand next to an apple or an oak or a cherry wood fire, you will certainly smell the difference. But how much of that smell translates to pure flavour in your food, I remain slightly sceptical about. Certainly when you've added spices and herbs, you've made a sauce, you've made a dressing, the smoke taste for me is just one ingredient in that flavour profile. So I don't personally get really hung up on what species of wood I'm smoking with. Something like oak is a slightly heavier smoke than something like apple or cherry. Something like mesquite or hickory can be really very strong smokes. So for me it's more important to learn how to burn a good clean fire to get good clean smoke, and to learn about the amount of smoke you like. Because smoke taste is actually quite a personal thing, I think. Like salt or chili tolerance, you know, we've all got different tolerances. So yeah, I don't personally get too hung up on the species of wood I'm cooking with. So what about the size of wood that you use when you're smoking? So if you had an offset smoker where the fire chamber was separate to the food chamber, you would exclusively be burning logs, kind of big logs. In a domestic situation, that is not what most of us have. You would be using charcoal as your heat source and then adding lumps of wood to add smoke flavour. So remember that charcoal itself, good charcoal, should give you no smoke whatsoever. So to add smoke, you need to add wood. And my preferred type of wood, these fist-sized lumps of wood. So I've got some cherry here. This is apple, this is oak, this is whiskey barrel oak. All amazing, love them all. But the thing is the size of the chunks. So something that's about the size of your fist. And in a kettle barbecue, in a kamado, I would rarely be adding more than a couple of lumps of anything at a time. You know, that is often enough smoke. The other option you have are these chips, these smoking chips. So this is whiskey barrel oak. This is actually chips of juniper. Smells incredible, but these are not my favourite. These are not my favourite at all because you've got a lot of surface area to the volume of them. That means they burn super quickly. They combust very quickly. So if you just needed a very short little whack of smoke, yes, they would be quite good. But if you're smoking something over a period of time, which is mostly what I'm doing, these guys just burn too fast. So you have two choices. You can open the lid and keep adding more and you'd get through loads of them. Or you can do what it often says on the packet, and it's soak them in cold water to basically make the burning, the combustion less efficient. But do you know what that means? That means what you're getting is a dirty, mucky, damp, wet smoke, not a nice smoke. So I hardly ever, almost never use these, you know. This is what I reach for, these lumps. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have dust, smoke dust. This is some hickory dust, and this here is some mesquite dust, very kind of strong smoke, to be used with caution, I would say. And the dust goes in something like this. This is a cold smoke generator. I'm going to make a lot more content on cold smoking when it's not the middle of the summer, because like I said, you need that cold weather. But very simply, the dust gives you smoke but no heat, and you burn it in one of these things. So that is the range. This is what I would invariably reach for, a fist-size lump of wood. One final myth: smoke doesn't come from the barbecue, from the equipment you're smoking in. And actually, you do not need to buy anything like a dedicated smoker. You know, you can smoke in a Kamado, you can smoke in a kettle barbecue, you can even smoke to a certain extent in an open fire pit, but it won't be quite as effective because you really need that lid to trap in the smoke. But you definitely don't need to spend thousands on a dedicated smoker in order to smoke food. If you remember just 3 things from this film, smoke is just another ingredient. It doesn't have to be the main event. Good, clean smoke will beat dirty, billowy white smoke any day. And you don't need a lot of very expensive kit to enjoy smoking food on your barbecue. Next time, I'm going to show you how to smoke very simply on my kettle barbecue using the most humble of ingredients to do it.